Hi everyone. In this topic, let's talk about add and subtract mixed numbers. So let's do adding first. Add and subtract mixed number. There's a couple places that will be different. So just like adding fractions, the first thing we got to do is find the LCD. Okay. When we add mixed number, we're gonna find LCD first. So number two, we're gonna find the equivalent fraction using the LCD. So it's the same step as adding the fractions, but the after step number two, things gets a little bit different. So once we find the equivalent fraction using the LCD, then we're going to add the whole numbers. Then we're going to add the numerators. Okay. So once we add up the whole number and add up the numerators, okay, what happens sometimes is after adding the numerator, if the fraction portion of the answer becomes an improper fraction, then what we got to do is convert it to a mixed number again. Then the extra whole numbers that we come up with, we're going to add back to the original whole number answer. Okay, so let me show you. It's a little bit weird after the third step. Okay, so LCD between 12 and 6 got to be 12. So I'm still going to have my 5. Okay, denominator LCD is 12. Whole number 3, the LCD now is 12. All right, 12, original denominator 12 going to the new 12 is 1 times. So numerator times by 1 is 11. Denominator 6 become the new denominator, become the new LCD 12. We got to multiply by 2. My numerator will times by 2 as well. So that becomes 10. Okay, so this is the second step, finding the equivalent fraction using LCD. Now it's the third step. Add a whole number. So 5 plus 3 is 8. Add a numerator. 11 plus 10 is 21. LCD is still 12. So this part right here is an improper fraction. So what we're going to do is convert this improper fraction into another mixed number. All right, 12 will go into 21. How many times? Well, it's actually 1 time. All right, 11 minus 2 is 9. Okay, so this part is 1 and 9 over 12. All right, so remember, this 1 over 12 comes from the 21 over 12. But see, my mixed number answer, right? Whole number plus a fraction. So theoretically, there is actually an addition sign in between my 8 and this, my new mixed number answer. So we add a whole number up again, just like I said right here. After we convert into a mixed number again, then we got to add a whole number. So my answer, should be 9 and 9 over 12. All right, be careful. 9 over 12 can be reduced, so we'll reduce that. So that becomes 9 and 3 over 4. That will be the final answer. Okay, so whenever after we add the numerator, if that portion of the mixed number is an improper fraction, we have to convert it again. Okay, before we can, and then add on to the 8 that I had earlier. All right, let's try another one. Okay, LCD between 7 and 3 got to be 21. So 4, 21. All right, denominator 7 become new LCD times by 3. Numerator times by 3, that's 9. All right, 3 going to 21 times by 7. Numerator 2 also increase 7 times, that become 14. So once I add up the whole number and the numerator part of it, that will be 23 over 21. So once again, this part is an improper fraction. So we got to convert into another mixed number, which will be 1 and 2 over 21. All right, I already had 10, so now my extra whole number add on to my 10. My final answer, 11 and 2 over 21. All right, 2 over 21 cannot be reduced, so this is the answer. Okay. Now, if this portion is a proper fraction, then we don't have to do this extra step. All right, subtract mixed numbers. Subtract mixed number is sometimes a little bit different than adding mixed numbers because there are borrowing involved. Okay, so first two steps are the same. Find the LCD, find the equivalent fraction using LCD. Then we're gonna subtract the whole numbers and then subtract the numerators. However, sometimes after we find the equivalent fraction using LCD, before we actually subtracting, if the numerator is not enough to subtract, we have to borrow from a whole number. So here are the two steps on how to borrow. Okay, and I will try to explain it. Okay, I will try to write my explanation here on the side. This steps how to borrow a whole number is like a shortcut. What you do is, if the numerator needs to borrow, you take away one. One means one whole number. Okay, you take away one from the whole number. Then what you're going to do is add the LCD that you already found to the old numerator. Okay, remember we couldn't subtract yet, right? So whatever that numerator is not enough, we take the LCD, add on to that new old numerator, and get a new numerator to use to subtract. All right. So I will show you the shortcut. Then I will kind of write it out here on the side, showing you, why it makes sense mathematically. LCD between A and 4 is 8. So I got my 15. I got my 8 LCD. All right. 8 going to 8. Increase one time. Numerator times by 1, which is 5. 4 becomes a new LCD times by 2. Numerator times by 2. So we talk about times by 2 top and bottom. Means I'm making the original fraction portion 2 times less large, which is 6. So before you subtract, let's look. 5 is not enough to subtract 6, right? So we got to borrow. Borrow means take 1 away from the whole number. So now I got 14. LCD still 8. Add the LCD 8 to the old numerator 5. And I get a new numerator 13. No, so now I will use the 13 to subtract with the numerator 6. That will be enough to subtract. So 14 minus 11 is 3. LCD is still 8. 13 minus 6 is 7. All right, 7 over 8 cannot be reduced, so that's my answer. So my shortcut is take the LCD, add on to the old numerator. So why does that make sense? So I'm going to try it here, okay? Remember, we have 15 and pi over 8, right? That was not enough to subtract. So technically, this mixed number is the same as 15 plus 5 over 8. So the borrowing process goes like this. The 15, right, we need to, the numerator 5 needs to borrow a whole from the 15. So the 15 can be rewritten as 14 plus 1. Okay, still add on to my fraction portion. Remember, mixed number is always a whole number plus a fraction, right? That's why I wrote 15 plus 5 over 8. So the whole right here, okay, since my LCD is 8, that 1 is the same thing as 8 over 8. So now if I will add it up, the 8 and the 5 on the top, I end up with 14 and 13 over 8, which is the same thing as what I wrote, 14 and 13 over 8. Okay, that's why my little shortcut here, my two-step shortcut, makes sense because technically I still end up using the LCD 8, right? Add on to the numerator. All right. So you don't have to show all that, mainly if you can use the shortcut, that would be great. I just want to write it out one time for you. All right, try another one. Okay, so if the first numerator does have enough to subtract, then we just subtract. Okay, there's no borrowing needed if it's enough to subtract. All right, LCD is 8, right? Between A and 4, LCD is 8. All right, so times by 1, times by 1, times by 2, times by 2. So if you do not know the LCD between A and 4 is 8, you can always put them inside this upside down division. And on the outside, you can find one number that will go into both of them, which is 4. So that will be 1. 4 going to 8 is 2. All right. So if you look at 1 and 2, there's no one number that can go into both of them other than 1. So you can stop it there and multiply all the numbers on the outside. That will give you 8. All right. So here, my numerator times by 2, which is 2. So 7 is enough to subtract the 2, so I don't have to borrow. So 4 minus 1 is 5. 7 minus 2 is 5 over 8. And 5 over 8 cannot be reduced, so that's the answer. Okay. In the previous videos, I mentioned something about whole number. I think one time I wrote a whole number into like a mixed number format. Okay. So I wrote that, before, so here it won't be looking so unfamiliar. Let's discuss this 12. Most of the time people will write 12 over 1. I do agree. Okay. So if you think about it though, if you write it 12 over 1, the LCD between 1 and 3 will be 3. Okay. LCD will be 3. So technically this 12 can be viewed as 12 plus 0 over 3. Well, okay. Why do we write like this? Well, think about it. 0 over 3 is 0. 0 plus 12 is still 12, right? So if I can write 12 as 12 plus 0 over 3, that means 12 itself is technically 12 and 0 over 3. All right, minus 5 and 2 over 3. The reason why I write like this, so I can show you that the 0 is not enough to subtract the 2. So the 0 have to borrow from the 12. So take 1 away, one whole number away from the 12, so that's 11. Take the LCD, add on to the old denominator to get a new numerator, which is 3. All right, LCD is still 3. So now technically that 12 just got rewrote as 11 and 3 over 3. Now the numerator 3 is enough to subtract the numerator 2. So my answer, 11 minus 5 is 6. 3 minus 2 is 1 over 3. Okay? So you cannot just simply say, 12 minus 5, 7 and 2/3. That's super wrong. Okay? Because technically, okay, you're actually trying to take a whole number, subtract a mixed number. So if you don't consider the fraction part need to be subtracted, that will be incorrect. So this is showing you that, hey, the numerator, the fraction portion of the mixed number still also need to be subtracted. All right. So let's take a look at some of your homework problems. Okay, when subtracting mixed number, if the fraction part being subtracted is larger than the first fraction, okay. So that what I mean is the second numerator is larger than the first numerator. What are the 2 steps of borrow a whole number? So all you have to do is just copy down your 2 steps on how to borrow a whole number. All right, perform the following addition of mixed numbers, okay, and reduce to the lowest term. Enter your response as a mixed number. So make sure you use the graphic equation to enter your mixed number. Okay, so make sure you choose the fraction part. So whatever your answer is, enter the whole number first. Then choose the fraction part so you can enter your fraction. Okay, make sure you use the graphical equation. Otherwise, it will be hard for me to read your mixed number answers. Okay, I will not accept improper fraction here because I do want you to know how to enter mixed number. Okay, now there's another question like this one right here. Oh, this is a subtraction. Sorry, this is supposed to be go up here. Okay, so there are 3 problems I need you to add and subtract mixed number with. All right, so there's another problem, and that problem is actually right here. 8 and 1 over 9 minus 6 and 7 over 8. what is the new numerator after we borrow from the whole number? So again, what I want you to do here is find the LCD, find the equivalent fraction like I showed you earlier, subtracting fractions. So what are the new numerator? So I want you to just enter the new numerator for me. So the answer is not 3 and 13. The answer is whatever the new numerator you come up with here. Okay. All right. That will conclude this video on how to add and subtract mixed numbers. Thank you for watching.